She wasn't a sniper. She wasn't even on the range. She cleaned rifles, logged serial numbers, and stayed invisible. She was just the quiet girl who worked in the Armory, a place that always smelled of gun oil and cold steel. It was a silent world, rows upon rows of weapons, sleeping in their racks, waiting for hands more important than hers. She moved between them like a ghost, wiping down scopes, checking bolts. Her hands familiar with rifles she was never supposed to fire. No one knew her name. No one bothered to ask. To them, she was a part of the background, as unnoticeable as the dust motes dancing in the slivers of light. That all changed the afternoon. The Special Forces team returned from a mission, B. They walked in caked in desert dust, their boots heavy on the concrete floor, their voices filled with the easy confidence of men who faced death and laughed. Among them was Sergeant Cole Maddox. He wasn't just a sniper, he was a living legend. The other soldiers would whisper stories about his impossible shots, talking about distances that sounded more like myths than reality. He was the best, and he knew it, adds. He leaned against a weapons rack, waiting for his rifle. His eyes fell on her. He didn't see her face, not really. He saw her hands. They were steady, efficient, moving with a grace and familiarity that felt out of place. He smirked, a low chuckle rumbling in his chest. "You ever fired one of those, sweetheart?" The question hung in the air, dripping with condescension. Few of his teammates snickered. She didn't respond, just continued her work, her silence a shield. But to men like Maddox, silence looked like weakness. He pushed off the rack and stepped closer, his shadow falling over her. "Tell you what," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "There's a ridge out past the training grounds. We've got a steel target set up at 3,800 meters. He paused for effect. "I bet you my next month's pay, you can't even touch it." The room went quiet. 3,800 meters. It was an insane distance. A shot so difficult, it was considered a fluke even for the most elite snipers with the best equipment. It was a challenge, meant to humiliate, to put the Armory girl in her place. The men watched, waiting for her to stammer an excuse, to blush and walk away. But she didn't. She slowly finished wiping down the rifle in her hands, placed it carefully back in the rack, and then, for the first time, she looked directly at him. Her voice was quiet, but clear. "Set it up." Out on the range, the desert stretched into an endless, shimmering expanse. The wind was a physical force, cutting across the ridge, kicking up dust and sand. In the distance, the steel target was a tiny, wavering speck, distorted by the heat waves rising from the scorched earth. It was nearly invisible to the naked eye. The soldiers gathered around, a buzz of excitement in the air. They started making bets, laying down cigarettes, ration packs, and their own pride. Maddox stood off to the side, arms crossed, a smug grin plastered on his face. He was about to teach this girl a lesson. She lay down in the dirt behind the massive sniper rifle, settling it onto its bipod. As she looked through the high-powered scope, the world around her melted away. The laughter, the bets, the doubting eyes, it all disappeared. There was only her, the rifle, and the impossible distance. They didn't know about her past, about the cold mountain mornings of her childhood. They didn't know about her father, a man who taught her that survival came before comfort, that a rifle wasn't a tool of sport but of necessity. He'd taught her to read the wind, to understand the subtle drop of a bullet over incredible distances. For her, a miss didn't mean losing a bet. It meant you didn't eat that night. Distance wasn't just numbers in a formula. It was a feeling, an instinct. She calculated the wind, the humidity, the spin of the earth. 10 seconds. That's how long the bullet would be in the air. A 10-second lifetime before it found its home. She squeezed the trigger. The rifle bucked against her shoulder with a deafening roar. A small puff of dust kicked up a few feet to the left of the target. A miss. The men behind her laughed, the sound sharp and dismissive. "Told you." One of them shouted. Maddox's grin widened, but she didn't flinch. She had what she needed. The first shot was never about hitting the target. It was about asking the wind a question. Now she had her answer. She calmly worked the bolt, chambering a new round, her movements fluid and economical. She made a tiny adjustment to the scope, a barely perceptible click. She breathed out, her crosshairs steady. She fired again, for 10 long seconds. there was only the whistle of the wind. Then, a faint but unmistakable sound echoed back across the desert. Clang! Silence. The laughter died in their throats. The smirks vanished. Every eye was now glued to the spotting scope. Did they really just hear that? She reloaded, her expression unchanged. Third shot. She held her breath, counted the seconds. Clang! The sound was even clearer this time, a defiant ring of steel against the silence of the desert. A murmur went through the crowd. Maddox was no longer smiling. His face was a mask of disbelief. She reloaded again. Fourth shot, clang. Fifth shot, clang. Each impact was perfect, a direct hit on the center of the impossibly distant target. The group of elite soldiers stood in stunned silence, watching a legend being made and another one being broken. With every ringing confirmation of a hit, Maddox's reputation seemed to shrink. He just stared, his jaw tight, as the quiet Armory girl did something he himself would have considered a miracle. After the fifth shot, she ejected the final casing, made the rifle safe, and stood up, brushing the dust from her clothes. She didn't say a word. She didn't look at Maddox or anyone else. She simply turned and started walking back toward the Armory, her job done. She didn't need to say anything. The ringing steel had said it all for her. After that day, no one ever called her the Armory girl again. They spoke her name, when they spoke it at all, in hushed, respectful whispers. They called her the Ghost, the Shadow, the greatest shooter they had ever seen, a legend who never wore a patch or asked for a medal. And Sergeant Cole Maddox. He transferred to a different base a month later. He never made another bet for the rest of his career. Some of the greatest legends are the ones hidden in plain sight, waiting for a single moment of arrogance to wake them. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like and subscribe for more. And let me know in the comments, would you have believed she could do it before she took that first shot? Thanks for watching.